Hey busy bees, welcome back. Today I am giving you, or tonight, I am giving you the very first installment of what we are calling in our community Clean Skin, Dirty Deeds. Shout out to the Eerie Faerie for suggesting that title, sis. Shout out to you. You're the GOAT. But this is the first installment, and the whole plan for this little segment on my channel is to cover some shorter stories while doing my skincare routine. Now, my skincare routine does not vary greatly. I may use a different mask every once in a while, so that's probably what you guys will notice will vary as I go through my skincare routine, but I like to keep it straight to the point. I don't do a whole lot of variation because I finally found what works for my skin. But basically, I'm just gonna go through my skincare routine, enjoy myself a glass of wine as I wind down after a long day. So the hope is that you will grab yourself a glass of wine, get some skincare going as we're going through this story together. So let's go ahead and hop right into our first story. Okay, y'all. So, on my normal true crime coverage of true crime and makeup, typically the criminals that we cover are males. So, this little segment is going to be all about the crazy women in this world, okay? So, the first story that we are covering is going to be Miss Betty Wilson and her sister, her twin sister, Peggy. And you guys see that I have on a full face of makeup. This is from a long day of filming, and whenever I do makeup, I always double cleanse, but I usually use the Tatcha oil as my step one cleansing product, but whenever I wear makeup, I like to use this Glow Recipe Papaya Sorbet Enzyme Cleansing Balm. I just feel like this gives me a little bit deeper of a cleanse and helps to remove a bit more of the makeup versus when I use that Tatcha cleansing oil. So this is going to be my step one. So let's start with some background on the twin sisters. Betty and Peggy were born in Gadsden, Alabama in 1945. It was said that Peggy was a very sweet, very well-behaved child. She was the beauty queen. She was the most popular girl in school. She was your typical prom queen, homecoming queen, all the things. That was Peggy. Now, Betty, on the other hand, was fast, okay? She was a wild child. She hung with a whole different crew, and she did whatever she pleased, okay? Very different. And that's typically what we see with twins. We see that they are completely different people. Now, I just want to show y'all. Y'all see this? This makeup is just coming right off. Even the eye makeup, I like to use this on my magnetic lashes because it removes the magnetic liner as well. And for those of you who don't know, the benefits of double cleansing and cleansing with an oil first is oil sucks the excess sebum out of the skin, like attracts like. So it likes to suck that excess dirt and sebum, remove all that heavy stuff from the day out of the skin before you go in with cleansing. So it just makes your cleanser work that much more effectively when you use a balm or oil first. Now, the next thing that I'm gonna do to remove this oil off of my face and all the gunk is I'm gonna use my Clean Skin Club. These are like disposable towels. They're not like paper towels. They're very thick, very durable, but once you're done with them for the day, you just toss them out. I love these things. It keeps excess bacteria off your face, just like compared to using a washcloth that sits in your bathroom and you're reusing it. No, sis, don't put that on your face. Get you some disposable stuff, okay? Now, while they were very different, they were still very close. Twins are always close. I don't care how different they are. And these two, it was no different. So they remained close all through childhood and all throughout adulthood. Now, Peggy ended up marrying the choir master from their church, and she became a first grade teacher and kind of settled into, married life, home life, that kind of thing. Betty, on the other end, sis wanted a sugar daddy. So sis was out on the hunt. She was an independent woman, okay? She was out on the hunt, out on the prowl, looking for herself a sugar daddy, particularly a doctor. So what did she do? Sis got herself a nursing degree. Not a CNA degree, not a nursing assistant degree, none of that. She got herself a nursing degree so she would be as close as possible to the doctors within her community so that she could have her pickings of her Dr. Sugar Daddy. And it worked. It worked. She met Jack Wilson in 1976. He was a doctor at the hospital that she worked at in Huntsville, Alabama. And they were married 2 years later. And of course, he showered her with gifts, all that you would expect. She was living a lavish life, and she instantly became one of Huntsville's elites. Now I am taking my Dermalogica. This is the special cleansing gel, and I'm going to do the second step of my cleansing process. Betty married him. Obviously, she married him for his money. She wasn't necessarily attracted to him. He was a nice guy. He was a clown in the office, in the hospital. He, had a lot of friends, but most of all, he had the money. She wasn't necessarily marrying him for him. So with her not being really attracted to him, there was an incident where he had a surgery or a procedure that didn't go as planned, and it actually left him with a colostomy bag. And for those of y'all who don't know what that is, it's instead of what needs to come out in the toilet, it comes out in a bag. So that made it even that much less attractive for her to be with him in any way at all. So what did she do? She started having affairs. And not only was she having affairs, but she was also said to have been bringing men home and allowing her husband to watch as these escapades went on. So she had a very busy social life that did not involve her husband. Now, this also led to a lot of alcohol, and she became somewhat of an alcoholic in this social setting that she was in. Now, to get the last of my magnetic liner off of my eyes, I love using, this is the only thing that I've actually found that I really like from this brand, being Mary Kay. But baby, their eye makeup remover, unmatched. I've had the Clinique, unmatched. So with her becoming an alcoholic and partying all the time, her husband gave her an ultimatum. He said basically, either you're going to get yourself together, you're going to go to AA, you're going to get some help, and you're going to stop all of this, or we're getting a divorce. And she could not let that money walk out the door. So she agreed to get some help and to join AA. And she pretended that it was actually helping her. She never stopped drinking, but she went to AA just to appease her husband and to keep the coins in the bank. I am now going to take my Dermalogica Daily Exfoliant. This has changed my skin 100%. I used to have these micro bumps all over my face, just texture all over my face. And once I started using the cleanser, the special cleansing gel, along with this, no issues. Now, I will see it come back if I skip a day of my regimen skincare. But within a couple days, once I get back on schedule, out of there. Around May 22nd of 1992, Betty's husband, Jack, tells her that he has a week-long getaway planned for just the two of them. Now, she couldn't stand to be alone with her husband at home, so she really didn't want to be with her husband on a getaway, just them two. So she was probably just trying to think of any way she could get out of going on this trip. and probably had been thinking for a while anyway she could get out of the relationship without losing the bag. So now that we have cleansed, double cleansed, exfoliated with our daily exfoliant, I am going to do a nice vampire mask from The Ordinary. And I do this probably once a week. And I really like to do this when I fall short on my skincare previous to this, just to give my skin like a reset. So I'll show you guys what this looks like. This usually scares my kids, so I try to do it once they go to bed. All right, so we are gonna let that sit on our skin for 10 minutes. And while we wait, let's talk about the day of the crime. So on the day of the crime, Betty took herself shopping, which was nothing new. And after she did a little bit of shopping, she proceeded to go to the tanning salon and get her tan on. And then after she got done tanning, sis went back for more shopping at the mall. And then after she got done with her second round of shopping, she went to her AA meeting and returned home around 9:25 that night. So when she got home, she found her husband in the home, laid out, bleeding, with a metal baseball bat next to him, and she called the police. So when she calls like emergency services and the police, she tells them that it was a break-in and her husband was attacked. And when they get there, they're confused because there's nothing missing. Nothing has been turned over, gone through. Nothing that's out in the open that is of value has been taken. There's not a mess really in the house. It's just her husband and a baseball bat and a pool of blood. So instantly, once that's not adding up, the police start to side-eye Betty. But again, Betty had an airtight alibi. She was at her AA meeting when this happened. She's been at the mall. She's been spotted at all of these different places, and she has an alibi. So a couple days later, the police get a call from an informant who has a tip for them that their friend was supposed to commit a murder that night. And on the 29th, the police bring him in to have a chat. And that person's name is James White. James White is a deadbeat. He's a drug addict. He's an alcoholic, all of the above. He's also a carpenter. And he comes in to speak to police, and y'all, he spills all the tea. He said that, how this all started is he is a carpenter and he was kind of commissioned to do some work at a grade school. And at this grade school, he met Miss Perfect Peggy. And him and Peggy kind of kicked it off. She actually hired him to do some work at her personal home. And they started some sort of sexual relationship at some point as well. Now, Miss Peggy introduced James to her twin sister, Betty, and they had a proposition for him. The proposition was to get rid of Betty's husband, Jack, who she basically despised at this point, but wanted his money. And she wanted him gotten rid of, and they would pay him $5,000 for the job. Police also learned that had they actually gotten a divorce, like normal people do who don't like each other anymore, had they gotten a divorce, Peggy would have had received a fraction of the amount of money that she would have received if he had passed away before they got a divorce. So divorce was not an option for her because her lifestyle would have to change at that point. And it was also perfect timing because the murder happened the weekend before she was set to go on this romantic getaway with her husband that she despised. And she was supposed to be sober. She had been telling her husband all this time she's been in AA, she's sober. So now she has to go on a trip with a husband that she doesn't want to be around, and she has to be sober all 7 days. So that just wasn't an option for her. That was the final straw for Betty Wilson. Okay, y'all, now it's time to wash this vampire mask off my face and continue on with the skincare process. Okay, you guys, so now I like to tone after I use a mask, because whatever strength the mask is, like today's mask is a very strong mask, or it could be a more mild mask. I like to kind of rebalance my skin after I do my mask. So this is the Fresh Rose Deep Hydration Facial Toner, and it's a beautiful bottle, y'all, and you can see that there's rose petals floating in it, and it just smells like you're putting a bouquet on your face. Now, for people who are sensitive to scent, this has a pretty strong rose scent, so this may not be for you. The other toner that I love and I've been using for at least a year now is the Glow Recipe Watermelon Toner, and that one, much milder scent, but chef's kiss. And I don't really do cotton pads. I feel like it's a waste. It wastes your product, and I don't really want to be rubbing anything that's not needed on my face either. So I go straight in with the hands and we rub in pads. Now, this case moved fast because just 4 days later, on May 30th, both Betty and Peggy were arrested for the murder of Dr. Jack Wilson. And they were actually charged with conspiracy to commit murder. And then the trial for Betty was first, and that started 9 months after they were arrested. So the defense basically was, it's our word, a stand-up citizen, a member of the elite community against a drug addict, a deadbeat, a alcoholic, whatever you want to call him, basically playing on social class. It's our word against the nothing over here, is what the defense was. And they also pointed to the fact that his story tended to shift and change quite a bit. And while it remained relatively the same story, it did change quite a bit from time to time. Now I'm going to take my SK2 Essence, and Essence is not really a required step of skincare, but if you want that luxurious facial feel where your skin feels plump, moisturized, hydrated, there's a difference, then I recommend using an Essence. I tend to buy the travel size of these. The full size is like $300. Not spending that coin. And also, if that's too much, CosRx has a snail mucin essence. Bomb. That was the very first essence that I found. It is a cult favorite. It has a cult following. Bomb. And it's like $20. Now, the other part of the defense was that they felt like evidence was planted because police found a bag of clothes and a knife that was right near the pool in their backyard. And James White had confessed and said that he changed his clothes that night, and he put his bloody clothes along with the knife in that bag and placed it where the police found it. Now, the police did not find it upon the initial search of the premises the night that the crime happened. They found it on a search following that initial search. So it really came into question as to how could they miss something so important, something that was out there and not hard to find. How could they miss it the first search? So they felt that, being the defense, and some people who still believe that, Betty had nothing to do with any of this, they feel like it was planted, and most likely it was planted by James White or the police to bolster his version of the story. Okay, so now we're going to get into serums, and I like to keep my face moist as I'm applying the serums because your skin absorbs more of that when your skin is moist. So I'm going to use my Evian facial spray to keep my skin moist between each step of the serums. And the first serum that I'm going to be using is this East 29th. This is a vital serum. It is hyaluronic acid, It is niacinamide, lemon rind extract, vitamin E, and vitamin C all in one. And this is clean beauty. Now, on the other hand, the prosecution had proof that James White had actually met the twins the day that they were set to execute this plan. Earlier that day, they met while Betty was shopping. He recalled her buying a specific pair of red shoes, I believe it was, or sneakers. And he knew exactly what she bought, exactly what she had that day when they met. And they met to do a final payment and to finalize the plan of what they were going to do that night. There was also in his possession, in his car, I believe, there was a library book that was checked out by Betty Wilson. And it was said that that was what was used to pass the final payment on without causing any commotion or drawing any attention, seeing a large amount of money being passed from one person to another. They also checked phone records, and there was evidence of Betty communicating with James and a vacant home right next to James White's home. So all of these things, if he's such a deadbeat, if he's such the scum of the community, she being an elite Huntsville person should have no connection or any communication with this person. Anything that belongs to her, he should not have. And he didn't, if it was a robbery, the things that he did have in his possession were not of any value. So there was no other explanation of him having those things, him communicating with her, him knowing exactly what she bought that day when she was shopping, other than they met up to discuss something. And now I'm going to take my Biro tomato serum, and that is my second serum I'm going to use. Now, something that I was not a fan of for the prosecution was the fact that they brought in not all of the people that she had an affair with, but one in specific. And this person happened to be a black man. So the goal here was to play on the racism, which was very real, of the jury, to make them despise her that much more, that she would cheat on her successful white husband that's a doctor with a black man, no matter how affluent he is, how much money he has, how much he contributes to his community, he's black. And it worked. So on March 2nd, 1993, Betty Wilson was convicted of the murder of her husband, Dr. Jack Wilson, and she was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So now I'm going to take my final serum, and that is my Good Genes Lactic Acid All-in-One Treatment by Sunday Riley. And this product is also a holy grail. I don't know where I would be without this. 1 to 2 days and acne breakouts, all that stuff, gone. So Peggy had a separate trial. Her trial started after the trial of her sisters was completed. So she was charged with the same crimes that her sister was charged with. They had the same evidence, the same witnesses, the same all that. But they had a different twin on trial. This twin was an upstanding member of the community. She was married to a very religious leader. She was a school teacher. She was above the fray. Versus her sister, who had always been the wild child. She was having affairs, and she was hanging out with black people, and she was an alcoholic, and she was a gold digger, and all these things. So it was very much a trial of the person and not the evidence and not the crime. So naturally, Little Miss Perfect Peggy won over the jury, and she was actually found not guilty, using the very same evidence and witnesses that her sister used. So now my final step is my night cream, and right now I am using the Elemis Peptide 4 Plumping Pillow Facial, and I love this. It makes my skin so soft when I wake up in the morning, and it's always super moisturized. So Peggy is living her life and walking free, enjoying every bit of life, while her twin sister is sitting in prison for the rest of her life with no possibility of parole whatsoever. And for my final skincare step, I know it's a lot of steps, y'all, but skincare is important, okay? It's self-care. So It is the Laneige Sleeping Care Lip Mask. It's the lip sleeping mask, and this is in gummy bear. So neither sister ever saw a penny of Jack Wilson's money. And Betty actually remarried while she was in prison in 2006, and her sister was her maid of honor. And she married a man that actually saw her story on like Dateline or something like that and became interested in her. So there's that. And Mr. James White, he also received life in prison, but he did get the possibility of parole. Now, again, he's changed his stories after he's been convicted of the murder as well. And he, at one point, said, oh no, the twins had nothing to do with it. But then when he was called to court to testify to that, he pled the fifth. So as of March 31st of this year, he has been denied parole. So I don't know if he'll ever get out, but yeah, that's the story of Peggy and Betty and Mr. James White, y'all. So that is, the first installment, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed Clean Skin, Dirty Deeds, episode 1. And I hope y'all grabbed a glass of wine. I hope y'all were able to do some skincare and relax with me as we went through this story. Let's make this a community thing. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought. And always, 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 you know that I'm commenting back. I love to engage with you guys. This is a community, my busy bees. Yes. So also make sure, if you have not already, subscribe. It means a lot. Also make sure that you hit that notification bell when you subscribe so that you don't miss this or true crime and makeup or any of the other videos that I have for you guys. And finally, just make sure you like the video. It means a lot to me, and it lets me know that you love what I'm putting out there in the universe. So until next time, y'all, it's late. My kids are in bed. I'm about to finish this glass of wine and relax. So I will see y'all next time. Love you guys. Bye.